So we're going to start the trophy rig. I'm sorry, not the trophy, the toothbrush setup. Project window. I'm going to set a new one. Okay, Hawkins. And on the media drive, we have our toothbrush model here. I'm going to go ahead and do this. At least I thought it is. I have it on desktop. I'm just going to use that. But it's on the media drive and it's also on the Google Drive. I haven't given you guys permission for the assets yet on the Google Drive, but I'll do that when you need it. All right. So in here, we're going to reference in the file. And there you go. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use deformers to deform this object. And that's how we're going to manipulate this particular rig. So to start off with, let's create another circle. I'm going to scale it up, and I'm going to move it down. We're going to name this controls. I'm going to delete my history, and I'm going to freeze my transformations. Let's go to rigging, bring up our deformers. So what we're going to do is essentially we're going to use a twist deformer, two twist deformers, and a bend, and what else we're going to use? A wave deformer. And what we're going to do is select our two objects, deform, nonlinear, twist. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move it so that it's kind of centered with this, and we're going to do a test. If I go to inputs for this, we have our start angle, we have our end angle, and that will allow our character to look around. Now we can change our low bound, which brings that up there, so that it only affects the character upper torso section. It doesn't really have a torso, it's a toothbrush, but you get what I mean. Now, what we want to do is be able to make it curve. So we're going to select these two again. We're going to go constraint. And what I'm not constrained, we're going to go to deform. We want a nonlinear, and what we want is a bend deformer. Now, we have our curvature for it, but I don't want it to bend to the side. I want it to bend forward and back. So what we're going to do, while I have it here, I'm just going to rotate this along Y, negative 90 degrees. And then we have another problem here is we can see that it is making our character really small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this so that it aligns with the character. Well, the value is negative 90. Now, I'm going to end up using two curve deformers. I'm sorry, two bend deformers. So for this one, my low bound I'm going to set at 0, so that only affects the top of the character. The next thing that I'm going to do, excuse me, is we're going to select these two again. Deform, we're going to add in another bend deformer. And give it a little bit of a curve. Y will be negative 90 again. I'm sorry, 90 in this case. There we go. We're going to move it forward so it lines up. And what I'm going to do is we're going to keep our low bound, but I'm going to set my high bound on the second bend deformer to 0. So I have the ability now to move the bottom, and I also have the ability now to move, let me select to set to 0, the high bound. There we go. And now I can also bend the top as well. Now to get the cape to move, I'm going to create another deformer, nonlinear, and you have a couple. You have your sine, you have your wave, you have your flare. We will use a flare, so I need to get that in there. So before I do that, and I forgot, let's go ahead and add in a flare deformer, constrain, not constrain. I keep going to constrain for some reason. Flare. We're going to move it in the center. And that's going to allow us to flare the head of the character. Now, this right here, deform, nonlinear, you have a sine wave here that we could use. This is a sine wave, and I'm just kind of showing you. And this would need to be rotated. So that's one we have available to us. Or we also have a wave deformer as well. And this is just to make the cape look like it's waving in the wind. And that's all it's going to be used for. So we're going to stick with the, um, what's the word I'm looking for? With the um, wave deformer, but both will serve our purposes. And this is all the deformers that we need on this object. And I am going to take a second.